Ready?
All right, good morning. Really quick bit of information today. Not much. This is going to wrap up the courts for us. We're going to move in on Monday into civil rights and civil liberties, which is the last unit we need to get into. I include that in my Unit 3. College Board makes that. My Unit 3 is a little bit different from the College Board. My Unit 3 includes the courts, and then I get into civil rights and civil liberties as well, because that we deal with a lot of court cases, so I always marry those two together. The College Board makes civil rights and civil liberties stand alone as just simply its own unit. Regardless, you're getting everything you need for this test, where we're going to get specifics again on April 3rd. All right, we're talking about the lawyers here. I don't have a lot of definitions for you guys to write down, because I'm going to teach this to you because it has shown up on past exams, but we're not dealing with a past exam here. We're not having that multiple choice. I just can't imagine the Attorney General and the Solicitor General would show up on a couple of FRQs the College Board is going to give you guys. I'd be just shocked. All right, so, but let's just cover all our bases. The Attorney General is the number one attorney in the United States government. They are head of the Department of Justice. They're appointed by the president, they're confirmed by the Senate, and they actually sit on the president's cabinet. What the Attorney General is going to do is they're going to basically oversee a lot of the attorneys that serve in the federal district courts. So if you go back to looking at this map on the right, so Georgia has these 3 federal district courts. Well, we know there's judges serving on those district courts, but there's also attorneys representing the United States in those district courts. All right, so the Attorney General is going to supervise those attorneys that are in these districts. Other things the Attorney General is going to do, they're going to make sure federal law is enforced. So for example, we've talked about this trend where we're seeing the legalization of marijuana in a lot of these states. Now, again, when an individual engages in that behavior at the state level, they're not breaking a state law, but they're still breaking federal law. The Attorney General is basically just ignoring the fact that they're doing that. Okay, so you as an individual, if you're engaging in the recreational use of marijuana in, say, Nevada, you're not breaking Nevada law, but you are breaking the Federal Controlled Substances Act. The Attorney General is the one that decides whether or not to pursue that and prosecute those individuals. And right now, the Attorney General is just basically saying, we're going to ignore this. So they're going to make sure that federal law is enforced. Trump came out and wrote an executive order where he basically said you can't hoard like N95 masks and hand sanitizer. Like, you can't have a warehouse full of this stuff. And when he signed that executive order, he's now turning it over to his Attorney General, William Barr. And William Barr is going to be the one that would actually go after those individuals that would do something like that. Okay, the Solicitor General, 4th highest ranking member of the Judiciary. They are a lawyer as well. They represent the United States in Supreme Court cases that involve the United States. So if it's United States versus Nixon or Korematsu versus United States, these are both court cases, the Solicitor General is going to be the one that represents the United States. If the United States loses in a lower court, then the Solicitor General would be the one to appeal to the Supreme Court. They would be the one to write that petition of certiorari to try and get the Supreme Court to take on that case. Okay, super important concept. This is, if we were dealing with the old test, I would just be absolutely shocked if Amicus Curiae did not show up in the test. However, we're dealing with this new format, so who knows? But I absolutely would not be surprised if this showed up on the new essay or essays they're going to throw at you guys. College Board is just, the Amicus Curiae is just, it's one of those just super commonly assessed concepts by the College Board. It's like crowding out for AP Macro or something. You just knew it was going to show up on the test. Again, we got some changes this year. We'll see what happens. It's Latin. Excuse me. It is Latin for, and it translates to friend of the court. Okay, so it's a Latin term. You get a lot of Latin terms in this judiciary unit. Translates to friend of the court. Interest groups and individuals may write amicus curiae briefs to the Supreme Court trying to influence the court's decision in a case. Briefs are basically like a persuasive essay. Lawyers will put them together. They include their side's arguments. They'll include precedent from past cases. They may include minority opinions from past cases or even majority opinions from past cases. They'll refer to the Constitution a lot in these briefs. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to influence how the court is going to rule. All right. The more landmark cases, so cases like Brown versus Board of Education or Roe v. Wade, these are going to receive a lot of amicus curiae briefs. The reason being is they're going to have such a big impact on the American political system. All right. So, for example, and I know I mentioned this case a lot, but it's probably our most recent landmark case, the Obergefell versus Hodges case. That case basically made it so that states could not deny marriage to two people of the same sex. I know for a fact, Coca-Cola, that company, wrote an amicus curiae brief, and they said, we would really like, they're trying to influence the court to strike down these state laws that denied same-sex marriage, and they're saying their reasoning for writing the brief was, we would really like to see all of our employees be able to extend their benefits like healthcare to their partners of the same sex. And right now in these states where they cannot marry, they can't do that, because in order to be able to extend things like healthcare and whatnot to a partner, you've got to be married. They couldn't get married in some states. Coca-Cola wrote an amicus curiae brief trying to influence the court's decision. Does it work? I don't know. But this is one of those that, they'll often say, like, at the end of a Supreme Court comparison essay, they might say something like, if somebody wants to influence the court's decision, or if an interest group wants to influence the court decision, what can they do? Kids tend to walk past this one a lot. And the answer is they could write an amicus curiae brief trying to influence the court's decision. Okay, cool. That's it for today.